time, the board will go into closed session pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, sections 551.071 and 551.074, to discuss personnel and consult with the board's attorney. We will be reconvening in open session, I hope, at 7 or a little after. All right, thank you. We're going to reconvene in open session. We've been in closed session. Thank you for your patience with us. No action was taken in closed session. And at this time, we will begin our regular business meeting. All items discussed or voted upon this evening have been posted as required by state law. I extend a warm welcome to those of you present and those watching on TV. Our purpose is to set goals, listen to the reports of the superintendent, to approve budgets, contracts, make personnel appointments, and make policy. We are not here to make management decisions or solve the problems of individuals. Management is the responsibility of our superintendent. At this time, I ask that you make sure your phones are on silent if you haven't already. And again, I just want to thank you for taking the time to join us tonight and your interest in Waco ISD. Next on the agenda is audience for guests. Do we have any public comments? No. No public comments. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's not on my script. Mr. Sykes reminded me, and I think for a long time, because all the rules kept changing, that we had stopped having our moment of silence during our meetings virtually, and that hasn't quite made it back on our agenda. But at this time, I would like to just take a moment. We are in hard times. I think all of us have been affected by the pandemic in one way or the other. I know the Waco ISD family has. And so I'd ask at this time for everybody just to take a moment for reflection or prayer, or to take a deep breath before we begin the rest of our meeting.
Our men and women who lost their life in Afghanistan today. And also, let's keep them in our prayers and those families in our prayers.
Thank you. Yes, sir. All right, thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is missing. Is it special recognition? Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you. Well, that's why that got omitted. We haven't had our pledge. So my apologies, but what I'm working off of is missing some items. Sorry.
So, yes, following a moment of silence, we're bringing back, something that we haven't had since February of 2020, which is our Pledge of Allegiance. So this evening, thank you again, Madam President. Tonight, we're pleased to have two students from Waco High School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Viviana Ramirez and Zachary Maze.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, students. And a big thanks to Miss Lisa Saxenian, the principal of Waco High School, who's accompanying the students this evening. So we're going to begin the special recognition portion of our meeting with an introduction of our pledge leaders who both attend Waco High School. Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Viviana Ramirez, a senior, says math Math is her favorite subject and enjoys music, games, and cards. In addition to being the battalion commander of the Waco High JROTC Battalion, she also participates in mock trial, National Honor Society, and Student Council. After she graduates, Viviana wants to become an engineer. Thank you, Viviana, for being with us here tonight. And we have Cadet Major Zachary Maze, a senior, who also enjoys math, but specifically calculus. It's his favorite subject. And he also enjoys games and sports. In addition to serving as the battalion executive officer for the Lions Battalion, Zachary also participates in choir and the JROTC drill team. After he graduates, Zachary wants to become a pilot. Thank you, Zach, for being here this evening. Moving on to the Young Marines. It's a national youth leadership and service program for boys and girls aged 8 through high school graduation. They hold an annual National Leadership Academy that mixes experiential learning with self-discovery to challenge individuals to overcome daily leadership tasks. This summer's academy was held in Warrenton, Oregon, with young Marines from across the country participating, which included this fine young woman here from Waco High School senior Gunnery Sergeant Montserrat Serrano, who trained for 2 weeks to become a better leader. After physical and written tests, leadership classes, drills, she was selected as a top 10 graduate of the Advanced Leadership School. The Advanced Senior Group is the highest level of leadership training offered and is bestowed on young Marines who have exhibited exceptional maturity and leadership skills in their units. Congratulations, Gunnery Sergeant Serrano. And if Ms. Saxony would mind standing up as well, our principal from Waco High School. Congrats, son. No Place for Hate is a collaborative initiative from the Anti-Defamation League, which provides educators and students with the resources to ensure that anti-bias and diversity education are an integral part of our school culture. Schools can receive a No Place for Hate designation by building inclusive and safe communities in which respect and equity are the goals and where all students can thrive. Empowering students, faculty, administration, and family members to take a stand against bias and bullying by incorporating new and existing programs under one powerful message. And sending a clear, unified message that all students have a place where they belong. At the beginning of the 2020-21 school year, 10 Waco ISD campuses started the process of applying for and stating their intentions to be a No Place for Hate school. Each school then formed a coalition of students and staff who developed and implemented at least 3 school-wide activities during the year. Examples included participating in World Kindness Day and Stomp Out Bullies Blue Day, as well as class discussions on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And for our very first year participating, we had 10 Waco ISD campuses. Now, over the summer, each campus received their own Resolution of Respect banner, which students will sign at a future school-wide ceremony. We'll start off with Alta Vista Elementary, Bells Hill Elementary School, Crestview Elementary School, and Hillcrest Professional Development School. Congratulations to those 4. We also have Kendrick Elementary, Parkdale Elementary, and Provident Heights Elementary. There are some wonderful photos of them as well. Congratulations to them. And rounding out secondary, Indian Spring Middle School, Tennyson Middle School, and University High School, our 10 No Place for Hate campuses. Congratulations. And finally this evening, actually, want to make sure to acknowledge the sponsors. These are the folks who spearheaded these efforts on the campus: Rebecca Maynard, Allison Cornell, Danette McIntyre, Nancy Dominguez, Dina Hoffman, Erica Rodriguez, Jackie Gaines, Angela Kusler, Sarah Miller, and Amy Brown. We appreciate all their efforts as well getting this going. And this evening's award for Outstanding Community Partners, the Lady Bears basketball team. Our theme for the 2021-22 school year is We Are Waco ISD. It builds on our mission to provide an educational foundation that empowers and values all. It's a theme that reflects our intention to celebrate the people of our amazing district, the people who learn, who teach, who support, who lead, who serve. It's about being a part of something bigger, an environment that fosters openness, acceptance, and embraces the richness, diversity, and individuality within Waco ISD. Education has always been a team sport, and we're fortunate to have scores of community partners who prove that in big ways, just how much we can do together. And each month, the district is recognizing a community partner making a difference with the Waco ISD Award for Outstanding Community Partners. In August, the district is recognizing the Baylor Lady Bears basketball team. Not only do these players dominate on the court, they are superstar adopt-a-school partners with South Waco Elementary. Last school year, the team held a number of virtual meet and greets with our students, recorded a series of storytime videos, and donated basketball shirts and tickets to games. Earlier this month, the team held a basketball clinic as part of their back-to-school supplies drive for South Waco. And here's a trio: Assistant Athletic Director for Player Development, Sophia Young-Malcolm, Assistant Athletic Director for Basketball Operations, Michael Mata, and Assistant Director of Basketball Operations, Micah Odom, who accepted the award virtually. We thank them very much as our community partners for August. And that'll wrap things up this evening for special recognitions.
Thank you. Thanks for rolling with it. Sorry.
Not a problem. Flexibility is the game.
I think I'm on track now, though, with item 7, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Kincannon.
All right. I have 3 items this evening. The first is to mention our summer graduation next Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. We're graduating 54 students from our 3 high schools, Waco High School, University High School, and Brazos High School. That's more than double the number of students that we graduated last summer, and mainly because we had more students that needed to earn some credits due to not completing work during COVID or not attending classes. So we look forward to honoring those students and really proud of them for reaching this milestone, and we'll be awarding those diplomas next Tuesday evening. Josh mentioned our We Are Waco ISD theme this year. I just want to say thank you to our communications department for such a fantastic theme and even a beautiful graphic to go with that theme. It really is about the people of Waco ISD and the diversity and what each person brings to the job, what our kids bring, and the rich programs that we have to offer our students. So I'm really excited about that this year. You'll be seeing some videos this year celebrating what we do in Waco ISD and who we are to go along with that theme. So that's really exciting. Just a few things about the first week of school. As of today, we had 13,727 students enrolled in the district. And that's a really good number. We were at Snapshot, which is taken the last week of October, last Friday, our last school day in October. Last year we were at 14,428. So we have some room to grow, and we will, and should continue to grow all the way up until October. Was really pleased with our pre-registration numbers this year. We had over 80% of our students who registered prior to the start of the school year. That's really good. I'd like it to be closer to 100, but we'll get there. And I think that was better than past years. Earlier this afternoon, I announced that we will require face masks inside of our schools and in our district buildings. Thank you. Beginning on Monday. And I wanted to provide a little more information for the board. We had, in the first 3 days of school, 34 people who had spent time at a campus or other facility who had tested positive for COVID-19. We had more than 20 cases that had been reported so far today. We haven't had as many cases as that in such a short period of time since the height of the pandemic last winter. And healthcare professionals tell me that the situation in our hospitals and in the community is growing increasingly dire. The number of new cases and the number of hospitalizations are both increasing. There are more ventilators in use locally than any other time during the pandemic, and the hospitals are having to find ways to care for critical patients outside of their intensive care units. I was heartened to see many, but not by no means all, of our students' employees who were voluntarily wearing masks in our classrooms. We know that masks have been shown to reduce the spread of the virus, and increasing the number of people wearing masks will make our schools a safer place in the midst of this pandemic. So masks beginning on Monday, and thank you all for wearing a mask tonight here in the boardroom. We'll continue to consult with medical experts and monitor legal and public health developments. But right now, I believe we'll be doing our part to help the spread of COVID-19 in our community. And then finally, I just wanted to show you some pictures of the first week of school, because this is why we do what we do. And I really want us to stay focused on our kids and the main thing. And it's been a very distracting, this COVID and divisive mask issue has been really distracting. But if you go into our classrooms, you'll see what we're doing with kids, and it's really special. It's been a great week. Our kids are learning. They're being nurtured by their teachers. You can see them playing on the playgrounds. You can see our Waco Police Department supporting our kids. Thank you, Chief Williams, and your staff. I can't see Chief, but I can see Lieutenant Freeman. There he is, around that column. They're out supporting our schools. We've had the Waco Fire Department. Thank you to Trustee Guillory for the Waco Fire Department going out to our schools and welcoming students. And those are the things we ought to be focused on. And it was really really been a good start. Bumpy in some ways, as it can be, and this year especially with COVID, but I'm really proud of Waco ISD. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Coleman.
I just wanted to say I was out at the bus stop this morning with some of the kids, and I was so impressed. It was a high school and Indian Spring Carver buses, and those kids were waiting there. You could tell they weren't kind of cutting up. They were just kind of waiting for the bus, just hanging around, and they got on the bus, and they were quiet and just really respectful. And I thought, wow, for the third, fourth day of school, you guys are doing great. Just, yeah, I think that's, my own daughter who's been at school has been loving it. And just, I think, thank you to our community for wearing masks and getting vaccinated, because that's what helped keep our kids in school, and our kids need it because they've been out for a while. And so I just really appreciate the opportunity that our kids have to be in those campuses, to be learning. And, I know my daughter has missed the socialization part of it and has really thoroughly enjoyed her first couple of days of school.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes, sir. Mr.
I would just like to say thank you to Dr. Kincannon for calling the mask mandate. Very happy to hear it. Just continue to encourage you guys, encourage our kids to wear their mask, encourage everybody to continue to get vaccinated so we can work together as a community and move past this pandemic.
Thank you. Yes, we certainly want to spend our time educating kids, not fighting. That's what we'd like to be able to do going forward. One thing of note is that there have been the Open Meetings Act had been relaxed because of COVID, which would allow meetings to have guests appear by Zoom, board members to appear by Zoom, and that is going to expire as of September 1st, and I doubt our governor will extend it. But I do think we might continue to make changes here in the boardroom, not have as many people present, so if you see us continuing to make adjustments for what we're seeing, understand that we and the administration are doing the best we can state guidance is consistently, it's consistently changing. I know it's an oxymoron, but we can count on it to continue to change and be inconsistent. And I think it's a time for us to all show a lot of grace and patience with each other. I think emotions have been running high just with the start of school anyway, but with the mask, it's exhausting. And our teachers and staff don't need anything else to tax them. So to the extent those in the community can take a deep breath when things don't go exactly the way that you'd like them to go, maybe before you pin that email to your board member or your superintendent or your principal, you walk around the block. Just remember that we're all in this together, and we're all about doing what's best for our kids. Okay. With that, public meeting to discuss the 2020, oh, sorry, Mr. Dupuy. Well, who would know? Yes. Go ahead.
I just want to mention, and I've, evidenced by, I guess, some of the enthusiasm and some of the email correspondence I received, I think there's maybe some faith in masks out there that's possibly undeserved. This is something. It is a flimsy defense, though. And the only reason I bring that up is I really want to encourage everybody. What is a good defense is vaccination. Please. That works. We had a mask mandate last year, and I don't know how many times we closed how many campuses. So it's not quite, let's not pretend that this is a good, solid fix for this spread. It is not. And it all depends on how you wear them, keeping it pressed around your face. At lunch, obviously, in the cafeteria, everybody's got them off and they're eating and talking to each other. I don't want to discourage anybody. And again, I don't have a problem with us doing this. This is fine. But it's a thin, flimsy defense. I just want to remind everybody of that. Get vaccinated, please. That's it. I'm done.
Madam President,
Yes, sir, Mr. Davis.
I just want to echo that. Please get vaccinated, but I just want to say I thank you guys for the feedback. Please keep giving us feedback. Please keep emailing. Please keep calling. Please keep sending us messages because we want to hear your opinion. We want to hear what you guys think, and we want to make the right decision based on what the community wants us to do. So please be encouraged to keep reaching out to us. I definitely agree that we need to keep getting vaccinated, but our medical experts have told us the mask help. So I'm glad we've made that step, and I'm just looking forward to the success we'll have in the future.
All right, now, Ms. Davis. The public meeting to discuss the 2021-22 budget and proposed tax rate. So I'll close our meeting briefly, open it up to public meeting. Ms. Davis.
Yes. So we are reaching the end of this budget process for 21-22. And this is our public meeting. We'll discuss, go over the tax rate and just briefly a little bit on the budget. So two things kind of rule here. First is the Education Code 44002, and the superintendent needs to prepare a budget to cover all the expenditures in the following fiscal year. We prepared that budget. It was presented to you on August 12th. Oh, is it? Green? It was green. Okay, anyway. So we presented that on August 12th, and we have the summary of that proposed budget is on our financial transparency page of our website as required under the law. The second thing that rules what we're doing tonight is the Texas property tax law. And so a lot of what you're going to see here has to do with truth in taxation. Which is kind of an interesting concept because I think sometimes it's more confusing than it actually is clarifying. But we do have to go through certain steps in adopting our tax rate. We adopt two rates, as we've talked about before, our M&O tax rate, which funds our operating expenses, and our INS tax rate. Now, the property tax collections, when we look at our state revenue, some of the factors that go into calculating our tax revenue, our state revenue, have to do with our property tax collections, because those property tax collections are our local match for state revenue. So that's how we leverage our state revenue. Now, this is the first part, our notice that went into the paper after that meeting on the 12th. We published on the 16th. These are what is required in that truth in taxation. We are proposing a tax rate, a maintenance and operations tax rate of $1.2440 per $100 of valuation, and an INS tax rate of $22,024. That is a 2% increase, 0.02% increase in our maintenance and operations rate, and a 14.12% increase in our debt service rate, for a total rate of 1.2% on the total expenditures. And as we talked about, part of what we're doing with debt service is we are going to defease some debt next year, about $1.5 million worth of our 2016 series, to sort of get us ready for that bond election. And so the tax rate is not actually going up, but because it's generating more revenue, it shows as an increase. This is our total appraised value and our total taxable value for that is also published. So our total values went from 10.1 billion to 10.6 billion. Our total appraised value of new property was 77 million last year. It was 93.8 million for this year. The total taxable value of our properties went from 6.4 billion to 6.7 billion. And the total taxable value of that new property went from right under 70 million to 88.8 million. Our total bonded indebtedness that we still owe after we have a big series of payments that we always make in August. So this is as of the end of August. Our total bonded indebtedness will be 133 million, just over 133 million. This is on our existing bonds. This is what's still outstanding on existing bonds. So then this is our comparison of our tax rate. And this is kind of where you see that you can see that it goes down, even though we're not required to have that much to generate the same amount of revenue. So our maintenance and operations rate last year was $1.0398. And our interest and sinking rate was 0.2242, for a total rate of 1.264. And that generated $6,186 in local revenue per student and $5,684 in state revenue. The rate, so we calculate the rate to maintain the same level of funding. When we do that, and our maintenance and operations rate, that would have been 1.0313. And our interest in sinking was 0.24686, which would have been $1.27. And that would have generated $6,424 in local revenue and state revenue of $5,497. With our proposed rate, and we did have to compress our rate a little bit under, as we talked about before, under HB3, they are legislating certain compression of the tax rate if our local values grow faster than the state values. And so ours did. So we were required to compress our tax rate just a little bit more. So our M&O rate will be $1.244, as I said before. Our interest and sinking rate, including that defeasance of that $1.5 million, will be this 22.024 cents. So that's a total rate of 1.24464 and a decrease in the tax rate of just under 2 cents. And that generates $6,349 in local revenue and $5,618 in state revenue. So you can see our state revenue is a little bit less per student than it was last year. and our local revenue has gone up about $160. Overall, it's about $100 difference. So this is our comparison of the proposed levy with last year's levy on the average residence. So if you'll see, the average value of a home in Waco went up quite a bit. Our average market value of residence was last year was $151,000. This year it's about $170,000, and the average taxable value of residence last year was about $117,000. This year is $130,000. So those values increased considerably. So based on last year's tax rate, the taxes due on the average residence would have been $1,484. This year, the average due on the residence is $1,625. So it goes up about $141 on the average household per year. Now, since we lowered our rate, that's all because of value growth. On the voter approval rate, this is one of the new terms. This used to be the rollback rate. It's now called the voter approval rate. Our rate is that 1.24464. If we were to adopt a rate above that, we would automatically have to have an election for that. We looked at this a little bit last time, but I just wanted to bring it forward again for the public meeting. If we look back in 2005, our total tax rate was about $1.55, and right now our total tax rate is $1.24, what we're proposing. So we've gone down over 30 cents from what it was in 2005. So that takes care of our tax rate and our truth in taxation and what we have to talk about there. Now, looking just at the official budget, as we talked about on the 12th, 3 funds make up our official budget. The general fund that funds most of our operations in the district, the child nutrition fund that funds all of our food service program, and then the debt service fund, and that funds our bonded debt. So our total estimated revenues, as you see there, they're broken out by fund, but our total revenues estimated for next year is $190.6 million. On the appropriation side, these are our expenditures, and when we're talking about the size of the budget or what the budget is, they're talking about appropriations, not revenue. So our appropriations for the general fund will be $165 million. The child nutrition fund is just under $11 million, and our debt service fund is $17.3 million. That's $193.3 million in total. We are drawing down fund balance in some of these funds a little more than others. As we talked, we also have, in the general fund, we have some operating transfers that go out and help fund our Guaca, and Day School for the Deaf of about $690,000. So we talked in the Child Nutrition Fund, and by the way, I had mentioned on the 12th that we were expecting to get about $800,000 reimbursement in the Food Service Fund that wasn't in these numbers. We got that today. It's actually a little over $1 million. So that $1,399,000, we were drawing down the fund balance this year. We will not be drawing down the fund balance this year. So that $1,399,000 will be for some equipment next year because we're required to draw down our fund balance. But it's not kind of what we were looking at last time because we did get that money. Again, on the debt service side, we're drawing down the fund balance there by about $1 million. That's for that defeasance, plus we collected more in taxes this year than we were, but we have excess tax collections because we, last year when we set our tax rate, we only had estimated values. We didn't have certified values. Our values went up after that certification, and so we collected more in taxes this past year than we needed to, so that money needs to be used, and that's new law, but it needs to be used now to pay debt service. So that's where you see those drawdowns of fund balance on the debt service. As I said, with what we did this year, it's not going to be much of a drawdown. And child nutrition, we did have excess fund balance that we needed to draw down. And the decrease in our general fund of $994,000 is actually in the transformation zone. our budget for Waco ISD is balanced. This $994,000 is strictly transformation zone. They did have a $2 million fund balance at the beginning of the year, and so this is going to, I think, at August 31st, their fund balance is going to be somewhere around $1.7 million. So this is drawing about $1 million of their fund balance, not the district's. But because they're part of the district, it's in our numbers. So looking at this, then you can see kind of what the percentage of these are. And we have in the general fund is 85% of our official budget. Debt service fund is 9%. And the child nutrition fund is about 6%. Going on to our revenue sources, local and state revenues are real even. You see our local and intermediate source revenues are 48%, and our state program revenues 45%. Federal program revenue is at 7%, but part of what happened in HB3 where they were trying to equalize those revenues between state and local sources. And then this is our official budget summary by major function. As you can see, instruction, this is direct classroom instruction and instructional related services is right at 50% of our budget, 49%. Student support services is the other biggest piece, and that is things like guidance and counseling, social work services, health services, transportation, food services, and extracurricular activities. That makes up another 15% of our budget. The next biggest category is the non-student support services, and that's kind of grown over the last couple of years. That does include, that's maintenance and operations, security, and technology. So technology has really grown the last couple of years and has increased that percentage. The next category is our debt service fund that we've already talked about. That's 8% of this budget. Then instructional school and school leadership, that's our instructional leaders that are over our curriculum areas, plus the principal's offices. And that's about 7% of the budget. And then our intergovernmental charges is 5% intergovernmental charges, primarily the money we send to the TIF. So that makes up most of that. The other biggest piece will be into some of our shared services. We pay for the day school for the deaf or the Challenge Academy and tax collection fees. And then the next smallest is general administration. We only spend 4% of our entire budget on general administration, and then community services is less than 1%. Looking again at our general fund unassigned fund balance, and this is after we take out inventories, unspendable inventories, and what we expect to be maybe committed funds at the end of the year or restricted for like the TZ zone. At the end of this year, it's looking like it's going to be just over 22%, and because of the increase in revenues and all for next year, I think it's going to be right. And because that $994,000 deficit is decreasing, that restricted fund balance for the TZ zone, not our unassigned fund balance, is actually going to be closer to 23% at the end of the year. Of course, those are projections. And then this is our debt service fund. We kind of looked at this over the last few months in preparation for the bond election. We have the 2000 Series 14 and the 2000 Series 15 will be paid off in the next 2 years. In 2022 and 2023, those fiscal years will pay off that debt, the rest of that debt. And then our Series 2016 will be completed in 2030. Again, that's the issue that we're going to defease some of the debt. And then the refunding that we did this past year that we saved so much money on it does go out to 2038, which is when our bonds originally were going to end. So that would be the only debt we'll have left after 2030, unless we have a new issue. And hopefully we'll have a new issue. So that's all we have for presentation. It's time for public input.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have a question? This presentation has been given to the board. although any member of the board may ask a question, but any member of the public is welcome to ask a question. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Davis. I'll close the public meeting and reopen the board meeting. Next is our consent agenda, items 9A through 9Z. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Sykes.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Quarterweg. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. All right, item 10, Dr. Gutierrez. Was she back? Okay. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding administrator contracts. Thank you for representing us tonight. I hope, didn't y'all have a town hall tonight?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I hope it was well attended. You got some new vaccinations.
Yes. Good evening, Madam President. Good evening, trustees of the board. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce you to several fine educators. The first educator is Alicia Oliver. Alicia is recommended for assistant principal at West Avenue Elementary School. She has over 12 years of experience, all in Waco ISD. She's also a certified master reading teacher in the state of Texas, so very much needed in our elementary schools. And Ms. Oliver has a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas in Arlington and a master's in education curriculum and instruction from Sam Houston State University. So I'd like to introduce you to Ms. Alicia Oliver. You can please stand. Do you have any family or friends to introduce, Ms. Oliver?
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Okay. Next, we have Ms. Christina Ochoa, who is being recommended for assistant principal at Waco High School. Ms. Ochoa has 17 years of educational experience in Rosebud Lot ISD, China Spring ISD, and Midway ISD, and she has several family members who have worked for Waco ISD in the past, and I asked her, what took you so long to get here? So we're excited to have her here. She has a bachelor's degree from Baylor University and a master's in education administration also from Baylor University. Ms. Ochoa?
Welcome. Will you introduce who you brought with you tonight?
Do you have anyone to introduce? Oh, awesome. Thank you. Welcome. Next, we have Sarah Bartlett. She's being recommended for Dean of Waco High School. Ms. Bartlett has 16 years of educational experience, and 5 of those have been in Waco ISD as a teacher and a counselor. She's also worked in Burleson and Midway, and it's clear when you talk to Mrs. Bartlett that she is passionate about serving students through CTE programs. Ms. Bartlett has a bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Arlington and a master's in school psychology and counseling from University of Mary Hardin Baylor. So welcome, Mrs. Bartlett. Ms. Bartlett, do you want to introduce? I brought my husband, Brian. Okay, welcome. So I ask that you approve the administrator contracts for the leaders presented to you tonight.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the administration's recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Corwig. Thank you, Mr. Dupuy. All those in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Welcome to all of you. right, Dr. Kincannon, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action regarding an amendment to the agreement with O'Connell Robertson for the design of G.W. Carver Middle School.
Thank you. This is pretty straightforward. We're recommending the amendment for O'Connell Robertson's professional services agreement for the design of the replacement of G.W. Carver Middle School, and asking that you authorize me to execute the final corresponding contracts for the services as presented.
All right, does anybody have any questions
Jared's here.
at this item? I saw Mr. Sturzinger. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I very happily move that the administration, we accept the administration's recommendation that authorizes the superintendent to execute the final corresponding contracts for these services as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Cordaway.
Second.
Oh, Mr. Davis, I'll give that to you by the nose. For the second, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Sturzinger, for your work on this important project. Dr. Kincannon, next we will consider the hiring of the construction auditor, which is the same auditor the board approved at our last meeting for our other projects for the G.W. Carver project.
That's it. So this is a recommendation to approve the superintendent, me, to execute a contract with R.L. Townsend for auditing services for the G.W. Carver Middle School replacement project.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Sykes.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Cordaway. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. All right, Ms. Davis, you're back. Action item concerning certain bonds for redemption and other matters related to the unlimited tax refunding bond series 2016.
Yes. As I just mentioned in the presentation, we are looking at using part of our tax rate, our INS rate, to fee some of our 2016 series bonds. We are looking at defeasing about $1.5 million worth of bonds. That will require a deposit to the escrow of about $1.72 million. Should take place before February 15th, sometime around then. We are estimated right now, based on current interest rates, that our interest savings will be about $288,374 between 2022 and 2030. You have in your packet an analysis of that savings from RBC Capital Market, as well as the order to defease bonds.
Well, thank you so much for getting our house in order, getting us, leading up to this bond election. First, a drop in our tax rate by 2 cents, and now additional savings on outstanding bonds. So that is good news. I'll entertain a motion to accept the administration's recommendation as presented.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
I move that we approve the order defeasing and calling certain bonds for redemption and enacting other matters relating to the subject and purposes of this order within the agreed upon parameters as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Sykes. A second. Thank you, Mr. Vidania. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. All right, Dr. Kincannon, the 2021-2022 District Improvement Plan.
Thank you. This evening, I am pleased to present you with the District Improvement Plan. This is a plan that's required by policy for the purposes of improving student performance. Now, our plan covers all of our goals, so it's much broader than just student achievement, and I want to highlight some of the items in the plan this evening, and I won't read the whole plan to you. You all have it in your packet, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. So I'm going to start on page 22 with Goal 1 and hit couple of items with each goal, remind you what those goals are, and just point out some things. So the first goal is to engage families and community to support student achievement and enhance district goals. We talked about launching the We Are Waco ISD video series to tell the stories of the unique, complex, and diverse identities in Waco ISD. That's strategy 1 there. And then I'll move on to goal 2. There's a lot in each goal, and I'm just going to hit some highlights. And I don't think too many of these things are going to be surprises to you because we've been talking about them all along the way. Goal 2 is to recruit, develop, and retain highly qualified teachers. That's going to be page 27 of 88. To increase the percentage of teachers with more than 5 years of experience and decrease the projected 21 turnover rate from 23 to 18%. And if you go to the very next page, on page 28, I want to point out strategies 2 and strategies 3. Strategy 1 was about the multi-year retention bonus. Strategy 2 is implementing year 1 of a teacher residency program using the opportunity culture model in partnership with Texas Tech University, Tarleton State University, and Public Impact. We've been working on that for the better part of the year, preparing to launch that this fall, and that has started. So likely we'll provide an update to you on that so you can understand that better. But basically that's a strategy to help us to develop a pipeline of teachers. Strategy 3 is to research, design, and implement strategies for recruiting a more diverse teaching workforce. And I just recently, after the town halls that I had with my schools, added including improving the current Grow Your Own program for district paraprofessionals. I heard from many paraprofessionals that they needed assistance with obtaining their degrees, and we do have a plan, have had a plan in Waco ISD, but that plan has not been beneficial to them. So we need to take a look at that. Continuing on to page 30, we begin to go into our professional development plan, still under goal 2 regarding our staff. Strategy 1 there, under that objective regarding professional development plan, is to implement year 2 of our 3-year elementary literacy plan and to initiate a middle school literacy plan to deepen teachers' knowledge and skills in effective literacy instruction. There's a lot of professional development that has been done going into this school year regarding effective literacy, and I was very pleased to see some of the outcomes of that professional development as we have toured schools this week. I think Carmen really highlighted that well just yesterday in some of her posts and some of the work that was done. So we're still focused on that. Moving to strategy 3, we're continuing to focus on data-driven instruction and ensuring that we're providing instructional support and professional development for our teachers. As you all know, Mrs. Kornblum started that work as soon as she got here, and we're still on it, still training people and implementing that model. Moving to page, if I'm going too fast, you can tell me. I just don't want to read to you. It's a lot here. Moving to page 33, this is under recruitment, placement, and retention. We are entering year 2 of the teacher incentive allotment, and so we're beginning to implement project tasks to support the effective implementation of T-tests. And I want to thank Dr. Gutierrez for her work on the teacher incentive allotment. It's a very complicated program, and we're hoping that it generates the funding to pay some of our teachers for their hard work. So you'll hear more about that as we continue to go on. Goal 3 is regarding our curriculum, ensuring a guaranteed and viable curriculum for our students that's customized to meet the needs of our district. So We're using our teachers to develop that curriculum. Under Strategy 2, you can see that we're implementing new scope and sequence curriculum documents and unit assessments in specific subject areas there. And then we're continuing to develop scope and sequence curriculum documents for additional core unit areas under Strategy 3. And so you can see that that's pretty comprehensive. And those, of course, will be used in the lesson planning process. That's where my heart is. I love that work. And our staff is doing a beautiful job with that and have really done a really nice job of packaging those resources for our teachers. They have a website that they can go to find those units, and it's been very good. On page 36, it's similar to the writing of curriculum documents, is to develop and refine common unit assessments. And that's how we measure what we're doing and whether or not it's working with instruction. So we want to continue in that regard. Page 37, again, focused on literacy. Strategy 1 is the use of Essar funding for our reading recovery program that we are initiating by sending 3 teachers to Texas Women's University who are on 3 of our campuses working with students, and then next school year they will be working to train other teachers in the reading recovery model. Excited about that. Strategy 2 has already begun. We used Essar funding to establish at least 2 model literacy classrooms at every campus, grade K-8, and that is to build capacity of literacy leaders on our campus and to provide coaching for campus teachers. I was in one of our literacy model classrooms today over at Cedar Ridge Elementary. Was very impressed with the teacher. And then Strategy 3 is updating our classroom libraries. Jerry has a report for you on that at our next meeting on September the 9th. We're really excited about that. We've weeded out 150,000 books. I'm looking at Jerry. 150,000 books out of our elementary schools and bringing our book collection up to date. And we've been busy hiring librarians and really supporting our literacy initiatives by modernizing our libraries, and that's a good thing. Okay, on page 42, this is focused on the labels that we have for our campuses that had low ratings under the accountability system. I'm not going to read any particular one of those to you, but I just wanted to point out that we still have labels and we still have plans that have to be developed with the Texas Education Agency. I'm looking for Carmen. I don't see her, or Dina. And those plans are still being worked with TEA, and we still have certain requirements that we have to meet. And so we're following through on that. I'm more than halfway done. On page 54, this objective goal 5 is in regards to supporting our student achievement for all student groups. This goal 5 has all kinds of categories in it, from CTE to bilingual ed and special education, even our intervention strategies. This particular page is focused on bilingual ESL, and one of the things that we began, a new initiative this year, was the implementation of a one-way dual language program at Dean Highland Elementary for students in grades pre-K through 5 whose first language is Spanish. And the one-way dual language programs are the premier model for instructing students whose first language is Spanish, and kudos to our curriculum and instruction team and our Department of Bilingual ESL for getting this off the ground and running this year. So yes, go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, can students who aren't native Spanish speakers, would that be something they could potentially
You want to take that one? Yeah, so we're focused on our students who are native Spanish speakers. You can have a dual language model that includes other students, but you have to be able to staff it.
Yeah.
So, and bilingual teachers are hard to find. So would you add anything to that, Dina?
And I couldn't quite hear your question.
Yeah, sorry. My question was, is that dual language program available to non-native Spanish speakers? You know, if there's a...
That's two-way dual language.
Two-way,
We're doing
okay.
one-way dual language right now.
Okay, thank you.
We would love to do that at some time in the future. Your staffing requirements on that increase when you go to two-way, because of course it cuts down the size of that classroom because you have, bilingual plus, and so you kind of have to double staff. And so, yeah, we would love to do that.
This takes more bilingual teachers that we don't have, right?
But right now, one way is where we're starting, and then
Okay.
maybe in the future we'll be able to do something like that.
Yeah, and our graduation rates are greatly impacted by bilingual ESL students and so we really are focused on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I absolutely agree and think that's the right focus. Was just wondering.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I've actually, in my prior district, we actually had a two-way dual language program at one point, and it was very popular with parents. Continuing in Goal 5, this one is with response to intervention on page 57. Y'all are hanging with me pretty good. I can see your computers. Thank you. Sorry, I was an elementary teacher. It's been a while, but I still got it. This is about RTI Strategy 1. This first strategy here is to partner with the City of Waco to provide tutorials as a part of the after-school care program that's offered at the community centers. I thank Courtney Parnell, who's already been working to make that happen, and we hope to be able to start that support on October the 1st. So appreciate that being recommended, and we're on it. Then strategy 4 is using federal Essar funding to expand staffing and instructional resources to support Tier 3 interventions. These are those additional academic intervention positions that I told you we were adding to help our students who needed support. And I'm happy to report today when I asked a principal, hey, what's the best thing happening this year at your school? And part of her answer was academic interventionists to provide support for students who need additional assistance. And that's huge for us and our kids. Next one I've already mentioned, and I'll go quickly on it, page 59, under Improving District Library Services. Updating our collection. We've hired a part-time coordinator of library services who has been in all of our libraries and has actually been instrumental in helping us find retired part-time librarians. She's read about our work in the Waco Trib and emailed us. We picked her up as a part-time coordinator. She had been working at the service center, and man, she's good. And then, of course, strategy 4 is to staff those libraries. Okay, on the next, page 61. This is a CTE section, and I think one of the most exciting things we have going on right now is the planning of our PTech Academy. We're collaborating with MCC and Tarleton and Texas Tech to begin our Future Educators Academy. That is a program where our high school students can take dual credit courses in education and get an associate's in teaching from MCC, then go on for 2 years either to Texas Tech or Tarleton State and get a teaching degree and come back to us. And that's huge. We have about 20 pilot students in the program this year because this is our planning year with TEA. Next year we'll have our official launch, and we have a big goal to have a lot of students in that program so they can come and teach for Waco ISD. Page 66, sustaining safe and supportive learning environments. And the focus here, and thank Dr. Rochelle Warren for working on this section, but the focus here is really on kids. And so we've included our work with race equity and our plans there to really get to know our kids and understand how we can meet their needs. So you see on strategy 4, this was something I had an idea to do last summer that we didn't get to do because of COVID, but really to begin to think about a way to have a conversation with our kids so we can identify what is contributing to dropout. And we would use some help from the University of Texas's School of Design and Creative Technologies to have that conversation with our students. So that's in the plans, and very excited about that. Continuing with supporting our students on page 68, we are hiring using our federal stimulus funds. You can see we're using those funds very targeted in areas that we need to work. We're hiring 2 social workers for GL Wiley for transition plans. And then we've also hired a threat assessment specialist to implement Senate Bill 11 requirements regarding the use of campus threat assessment teams. And that's a really important thing that was that came out in legislation that is really hard to implement. And I personally believe in that process, and we're looking to systemize that and do a better job of really working through the management of our students who need that support. All right, page 71, I'm almost done. SEL strategies. We have the use of Title IV funding and Essar funds to employ 2 SEL counseling coordinators. You've heard me talk about that. And they are off and running, and they'll be working with our counselors and helping us develop that district-wide framework. Page 74. This one is a generic area here for processes and systems for the district. I want to just point out, because there's about a $600,000 budget item attached to this one, and that's to make a recommendation for a new student management and business information software system to launch next fall, in the fall of 2022. We'll be standing up a pilot of that, or a side-by-side of that. I'm trying to see Jerry around, Suzanne there. But we're looking for the spring semester to stand that up side-by-side and then convert over to the new system in the fall. And you know, if you have had to do that before, how difficult it is to change systems, technology systems, for an organization that's this big. Moving on to goal 8, building capacity for school leadership, page 76. The big first one there is to participate in the Holdsworth Center's Leadership Pipe Development Program. We were one of a very small number of districts who were chosen to participate in that 18-month program, and we have our first session coming up in the middle of September. I will be attending along with Dr. Gutierrez and Mrs. Kornblum, and that will be held at the Holdsworth Center in Austin. That's the built by HEB to develop school leaders. It's pretty exciting. All right. Almost there, last one. Goal 10 is about our facilities and implementing the long-range facilities master plan, and we are very well on our way. Actually have already accomplished some of those things that we had on the list to do this year. So on September 9th, we'll bring you the schematic design for Waco High School. You're going to be excited when you see the flyover. video with that design, and we've made a lot of progress. We've had a lot of meetings with staff internally to get to this point, and we're thrilled to bring that to the board. Once we get that done, we'll continue in the process, and then you guys will be, before you know it, looking at a guaranteed maximum price for Waco High School. And I believe the last date I saw for starting construction was about this time next year. And so very exciting times for us. Okay, that's it. So that's the summary of the district improvement plan. And I am asking for your approval this evening, and then I intend to bring campus improvement plans back to you either September 9th or the next regular meeting after that. We're working to proof those now. We're hoping to make the 9th, but we've got a short time frame to get that done. So there you go.
All right, anybody have any other questions? Yes, Mr. Sykes.
Madam President, not a question, but more of a comment. Just want to say that Dr. Kincannon, reviewing this material and presenting it before the board, I can't remember a time that we've had such a comprehensive district improvement plan, so well focused on our mission, vision, and core beliefs. It's clear that your staff, campus level, downtown administration throughout, has spent a great deal of time focusing on the elements that are defined by our goals that reinforce those core beliefs, and just want to say thank you for the hard work that you've done on this. I think I'm looking forward to, the next steps in terms of the ripple effect throughout the district, and it's a lot of work, but it's very comprehensive and very well prepared, very well thought out, so I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
And with that, I'll make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 district improvement plan as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Sykes.
Madam President,
Yes, sir, Mr. Davis.
I would just like to echo Trustee Sykes. I really love the plan. I'm definitely looking forward to how it seems like it's a lot of opportunity to grow our own. It's a lot of Waco people will be teaching at Waco ISD through the Grow Your Own program and through the P-Tech High School. So I'm definitely looking forward to it for people who really get it to be with our students. Definitely liking how much attention was put on instruction. I can tell instruction is the foremost important thing for us. So just appreciate the work that was put in.
Yes, Ms. Cordaway.
I would love to echo Mr. Davis's comments and also say that being able to come up with this in the middle of a pandemic, handling the crisis of the pandemic while pushing forward on goals is pretty incredible. So that type of leadership, that type of execution really is rare. And so I'm really thankful for this district improvement plan. I agree with the thoroughness and all of that, but I think when we take a step back and think of the larger picture, you have been doing this in the middle of a pandemic that is, we think it's going away and then it's all back in full force. So I just wanted to say thank you. I know I recognize the amount of effort, work, and saying no to something so that you can keep your eye on the prize. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And with that, I'll second.
Oh, good. Okay, I had to refresh my memory on whether I had a motion and second. All right, thank you, Ms. Cordaway. Is there any other discussion? All right, all those in favor of the district improvement plan as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Kincannon. It is meaty and meaningful. And I know that everything in it you will try to get done. Beware, if you think she's not going to try to get it all done, she is. All right. Ms. Davis, adoption of the budget. We've done this, right? Haven't we already adopted the budget? But we're ready to, right?
Yeah, this is it.
Okay.
So, we've already talked about the official budget and what's in it. Just remind you that the budget does include a 3% overall average increase for all employees. And it does increase our starting teacher salary from $49,100 to $50,250. And it also increases our contribution to group health insurance by about 5%. We had an increase, this has been 3 years since we've had an increase, and so we're increasing that 5%. The only other thing I would mention, because there are some other budgets that you adopt tonight, they're not part of our official budget, but because we're the fiscal agent on those budgets, the board has to adopt them. And that is the 2 Greater Waco academies, the Healthcare Academy, which is $1,361,938. The Advanced Manufacturing Academy, which is $1,217,047. The McLennan County Challenge Academy, which is our JJAEP, and it's $918,256. And then the Regional Day School for the Deaf, which is $1,009,645.
All right, thank you. Dr. Kincannon pointed out without the budget, we wouldn't be able to do anything in the district improvement plan. So it's pretty important step. So I'll entertain a motion to approve, to adopt the budget as presented. Thank you, Mr. Dupuy.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Sykes. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. No, we're not.
Cheryl, I didn't get to double check all your work that you have time today. I assume you'll bring any needed amendments to us. Anything's changed?
I will, and they have already changing as we speak. So I have to yell at people that I haven't even gotten it approved yet. Okay, well, let's not start changing it yet.
Sounds good, thank you.
Anybody else have a question for Ms. Davis? All right, I'll entertain, do I have a motion?
Yes.
We did, we already approved it, I think.
No, we don't.
Oh, no, I need a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, and now, to fund the budget, we have to take action regarding the adoption of the tax rate for the 2021 tax year. Ms. Davis.
And we have already gone over what the proposed tax rate is. So the one thing I would say to you, there is some wording in the middle of this agenda item that the motion to approve the tax rate must include this wording. It's in red.
All right, Mr. Sykes, did you have something you'd like to say?
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you for expressing this motion in red capital letters. Madam President, I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of $1.24464, which is effectively a 1.85% increase in the tax rate.
Even though it went down.
Even though the tax rate went down by 2 cents.
It was an addendum.
I'll entertain a second. Thank you, Mr. Vidania. Is there any further discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. All right. Number 17, consider and take appropriate action regarding the use of Essar 2 funds to provide additional compensation for paraprofessionals assuming additional responsibilities during COVID-19. Dr. Gutierrez.
This evening, I ask you to consider a one-time COVID payment for our instructional aides. This includes all instructional aides and special ed aides in our district, which is a total of 367 hardworking employees. I bring this to you because our aides are on the front line. They've been especially during this last year and this year, we anticipate the same thing to happen. They've stepped out to help us keep our schools safe. They have helped cover classrooms when we've had too many absences because of quarantining or people being sick. And they just really go above and beyond the call of duty. And we've also listened to them. They have shared a lot of the information about things that they do, and we believe that this is the right thing to do, just to show them a little bit of appreciation. And we know that this year is going to be just as challenging. And so this proposal consists of $1,000 COVID pay for aides hired prior to January 27th of 2021, and any aides hired between the 27th and January 27th and August 27th of this year will receive $500. And if approved, they will receive a one-time payment this upcoming December of 2021, and their December 15th paycheck, right in time for Christmas or the holidays. And we just believe that this pay will serve as fair compensation for going above and beyond, and it's, again, just a small way to show them that they're valued and appreciated. And the estimated cost is $329,500, which will be allocated in our Essar 2 funds. And so tonight, I ask you to approve using Essar funds to pay for this COVID pay for our instructional aides and special ed aides for this school year. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Madam President?
Yes, Mr.
More of a statement. I just want to say woo, 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 because I'm excited for our parents to get this. Our parents are definitely the frontline workers. They're in the thick of it every day, in and out, doing what they need to do to make sure the school runs smooth. So I'm excited about this. I appreciate the administration taking the time out to make this happen for our parents.
Yep. Thank you.
Is your mic on?
I'm all for it. I'm just curious, but I mean, is this part of the budget we just adopted? No, that's in a completely separate budget. We don't adopt, or we just do it a little bit at a time as we spend it. Is that, or find things to?
The federal grants get approved by the granting agency, or TEA in this case.
So we paid for our retention bonuses for teachers, cafeteria workers, and custodial workers out of Essar funding. You all already approved that. We heard from our paraprofessionals that they didn't feel valued. And it was never our intent to give a COVID bonus. We were really focused on retention of our teachers and those hard-to-fill positions. But we do recognize that our paraprofessionals stepped up and had to cover classrooms for teachers pretty much from the get-go last September all the way through the school year. Looks like they're going to have to do that again. So this is in recognition of their additional duties that they've assumed as a result of the pandemic. And they have. Mm-hmm. So that's what this is about. And it's not a part of the regular budget.
Yeah. Well, nothing Essar is, right?
Nothing Essar is, correct.
Oh, great idea. I'm all for it.
Great.
Anybody else? I just want to commend the administration for once again listening. This is another example of how y'all are always willing to go back and rethink and take another look at things. And we did hear from our paraprofessionals that they did feel like they had been left out and not acknowledged. So thank you very much for taking another look at it. So unless anybody, yes, Mr. Sykes.
I want to add to that, not only listening, but responding.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, that's a very, very meaningful and appropriate response after listening, so thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to approve the use of Essar 2 funds to pay campus instructional and special education paraprofessionals for assuming additional responsibilities.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
I second it.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory, for the second. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez. All right. Mr. DeBia, announcements.
Thank you, Madam President. Two things we want to touch on tonight. The state has opened up a third round of the pandemic electronic benefit transfer. As you may recall, this is a benefit that's available to all of our families because all of the families in Waco ISD are eligible for free school meals through the community eligibility provision. This current benefit is a one-time benefit of $375 per child, and it's available through September 13th. So families can apply online at yourtexasbenefits.com/learn/PEBT, as in Pandemic Electronic Benefit Transfer. And then I'd also like to note that the board is planning to call a special meeting next week on August 31st to interview potential appointees to fill the vacancy created by Mr. Sykes' resignation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, we are adjourned. Good night.